Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're brand new here, hi, my name's Courtney, and normally I talk all things wavy curly hair. But today, as you may have guessed from the title, that this video is going to be a little bit different. I have decided that it would be super fun to try and feed myself for a week on $20. Now, there is a caveat here. I have a hollow leg. I am always hungry.
Yes, she is.
It doesn't matter if I've just eaten a full meal. I am starving even after that full meal. And being pregnant has only made that slightly more of an issue. Now, recently I've been working with a health professional, and we've determined that I have not been getting enough protein in my diet, and that's been contributing to the abnormal hunger that I deal with. Did you know protein's expensive? Did you know that getting adequate protein in your diet is costly? Thus enters this challenge. This week, I'm going to do my best to get at least 30 grams of protein per meal on a budget. The goal is to see if I am hungry at the end of this week and to stay within $20 to feed myself 3 square meals a day with 30 grams of protein each. What do you think, hon? Do you think I can do it?
We'll see.
Here we go. We're off to see the wizard. Just kidding. We will be doing all our shopping today at the friendly local Walmart. First off, I'm grabbing a gallon of 2% milk for $2.41. Then I'm grabbing a dozen eggs, and these were the cheapest I could find at $1.64. Next up, I'm grabbing 2 pounds of the festive ground turkey for $1.82. I definitely didn't see any other ground meat for that price. Next up, 4 pounds of chicken thighs for $5.28. Now, I definitely didn't realize that these were skin-on, bone-in thighs, but oh well. Can of Great Value Rotel for 63 cents, black beans for 72 cents. Then I decided I needed a pound of rice for 72 cents. Bada bing, bada boom. Who else loves grocery shopping, especially on a very busy Saturday? It's okay, we kept it fun. Next up, I needed some quick oats, and I grabbed this one for $1.76. Next up, I wanted to make sure we got some veg in, even though we're focusing on the protein, so 2 zucchinis for 98 cents per pound, so it was slightly less than that. Grabbed an onion for 78 cents per pound. Now, always and forever, garlic for $3.88 a pound, but since they don't weigh anything, it wasn't that much. It was a few cents. Don't you just love a good grocery checkout montage? I sure do. I was really pleased with how we did. Total came out to $19.23. And now for the fun part, we get to cook all that food we bought. This is actually the next day. I had just finished up with my morning walk and I'm hungry. It's time for breakfast. So we're taking the eggs, the oats, and the milk, and we're going to be making my weird breakfast for the week. But I learned about this from a friend of mine, and it's actually really delicious. So I'll be taking 2 cups of the milk, making sure to spill a little bit on the counter. It makes it taste better, I promise. And 1 cup of the oats. Yes, this is just for me. All of it. Aren't you impressed? I will be pouring the milk into a pot with the heat set on high because I'm impatient, and if you turn the heat up higher, things cook faster. Am I right or am I right? Adding the oats in now, and I will be adding a generous helping of salt to this because this is going to be a very savory oatmeal And I almost didn't add enough salt. I know it looks like I added a lot there, but it still felt pretty light on the salt. I'll just be making sure to watch this and not walk away, because if you do, it will boil over. Now that this is cooked down 3/4 of the way, I'm going to be cracking 2 eggs into my oatmeal. Ooh, yes, it's getting so steamy up in here. So I know this seems weird. When my friend told me about this recipe, I thought it seemed weird too, but this is so good. It makes the oatmeal so fluffy, and I personally love a really thick oatmeal. Now I'm just beating these eggs as much as I can into the oatmeal. I did turn down the heat a little bit on my stove. I do want to cook this enough so that the eggs are completely cooked through. Very important while pregnant. I'm not going to be consuming raw eggs. This really reminds me of cheese grits. I'm in Texas. We eat grits. It's delicious, and I personally love cheese grits. There's something about the eggs in this that really give it a cheesy quality. But overall, I love this breakfast. This has actually been something I have been eating throughout my entire pregnancy, not just for this challenge. I haven't been eating this much though. I've literally been eating half of this. I wanted to make sure that I was getting adequate protein. This breakfast comes out to 40 grams of protein. Now, it's definitely not low calorie. It does come in at 700 calories, but I'm not worried about being low calorie. I'm just shooting to get enough protein so I'm not hungry. Yes, I know this is a giant bowl of food, but watch and learn, my friends. Like I said, I have a hollow leg and I can put away some food. I definitely wake up in the mornings with a healthy appetite. I do tend to be very hungry in the morning, so this works great for me. Being starving in the morning and eating a ginormous bowl of oatmeal, eggs, and milk really does set me up to not be starving throughout the day. Now, because I'm a mom, I did not get to finish this in peace. I did get up, but you can see I ate the whole thing and I felt so good. Now, don't worry, with all this food I'm eating, I am making sure to drink enough water as well with each meal. Water tends to be my drink of choice for the most part. Now it's time for lunch, and we're going to be making these meatballs. I was inspired by a chicken zucchini popper recipe. I've been making these for kind of a long time with different types of ground meat, but I've modified the recipe and kind of just have made it my own, sort of. I am just going to be grating up these zucchinis with the fine grater attachment to this really awesome, cheapy Amazon grater that I've got. I really hate grating things by hand. It wears me out, and this has been a great solution where I didn't have to buy a food processor. Also, my kiddo absolutely loves helping me out with this. He gets kind of frustrated if I don't let him help me grate things. So we've just grated up those 2 zucchinis, and for whatever reason, the skins would not grate up today. I haven't ever had that happen before. I will be taking half of the onion that I purchased. Now, I'm not crazy about onion. If you love onion, you could totally put a whole onion into this recipe, but I don't know. I'm just not a giant fan of the flavor of onion, but I do want some onion in there. And I've switched out the attachment to the wide grater on this grater. Instead of trying to dice an onion really, really small and crying profusely because chopping onion makes me cry, I just find that grating it works perfect for this meatball recipe. Since I already had the grater out, just had to switch the attachment. If you try and grate it on the fine setting, it does make it into pulp, and you don't want onion pulp. You kind of want diced onion sizes. So the large grater works for that. You could also throw in other veggies into this as well. I have thrown carrots into these meatballs before, and it's been delicious. You could just about any veggie, but I do find that using the zucchini as the base works the best. They're really, really moist. Yes, I said it. I said the word. And it really helps drier cuts of like ground meat not be as dry, like lean ground turkey and or ground chicken. These are never dry. So I have just put 3 cloves of garlic into that as well, crushed them up. And you want 1 teaspoon of salt per pound of ground meat that you're using in your meatballs. So I have my festive ground turkey here. I did let it thaw overnight in the fridge so that it would be easy to manipulate today. I have got a glove on one of my hands because I don't know about y'all, but there's something about raw meat that's just a little bit gross. And there's only one way to mix up these meatballs, and that is by hand. I have tried doing it other ways, and it just doesn't come together the way you want. You just kind of keep sticking your hand in and squishing everything together, stirring, mashing, stirring. I will say, of all the cuts of ground meat I've ever used to make these meatballs with, the festive ground turkey was pretty crumbly and juicy all at the same time. Yes, I read the ingredients label. It's actually mechanically separated turkey. I don't even know what that means. Will somebody tell me what that means in the comments down below? Anyway, I usually make these with ground turkey or ground chicken. Now I am just forming these into little balls with, yes, it's an ice cream scoop. I really like this one because you can just kind of squeeze it together and it will pop out the meatball. It helps me form the meatballs without me having to hand roll them all. You can kind of see that I'm squeezing out the excess juice from these. I don't know why these were so juicy. I don't normally have them be this juicy, and I don't have to drain or pat dry the zucchini usually, but if you're using the festive ground turkey, you might want to pat dry the zucchini pretty well before mixing everything together to avoid all the juice. Now, I cooked these in the oven for 20 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and bada bing, bada boom, they are ready to go. I did definitely taste test one. One serving of these comes out to about 23 grams of protein. Now, if you were to use a slightly leaner ground meat, that does up the protein above the 30 grams of protein per serving mark. But after that breakfast, I found that I was so full. I wasn't even necessarily super hungry for lunch. This was perfect. It filled me up. I felt like I was getting enough food. And I am pretty busy during the day, so to be able to just eat 5 meatballs nice and quick was awesome. And these keep wonderfully, beautifully in the fridge. You could freeze them and thaw them if you needed to. And it makes for a very quick, easy, and tasty lunch. I have made versions of these meatballs for my family. My kiddo loves them. They don't really even need any sauce and or like to be served with pasta like you would think a normal meatball would. They're just fine on their own as kind of a finger food. You absolutely could make a dipping sauce for these if you wanted to, but really, like, I was happy to eat them like that. Now we're taking the bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs, rock solid, frozen, and I've got them in 2 baking dishes, and I am seasoning heavily with salt. Now, I was trying my best to not use too many pantry items. I was trying to just use salt instead of like 28 different spices, but these would be delicious with onion salt, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, pepper. You could dress these up really, really well, but I found that they were actually quite tasty with just plain salt, making sure to salt both sides as evenly as I can. And I'm turning all of them bone side down and covering each pan with foil and putting them in my oven to cook. I believe I cooked them at 400 for an hour. Because they were frozen, I cooked them for an hour. I did follow the instructions on the bag for baking from frozen, and they came out really, really beautifully. Now I'm just chopping up the rest of my onion, the second half of the onion that I saved from earlier, and I started chopping and realized, oh wait, I gotta film it. So here we are. I am just chopping up the onion. Try not to be jealous of my awesome knife skills. That's a joke. I know I'm no culinary genius or culinary master here, but wow, I didn't realize how bad I was until I watched this video back. Now I am crushing 3 more cloves of garlic, because why mince garlic cloves when you can just crush them? I should have been sauteing those. I didn't. I don't know why. Anyway, now I am just rinsing the black beans that I have from my can. If you don't like black beans straight out of the can, I highly recommend rinsing them. It's a game changer. Now I'm just going to take those over to the pot and let everybody get to know each other in the pot. It's going to be delicious. I'm so excited. Also, here is my forever friend while I'm cooking in the kitchen. Does anybody else's dog watch them diligently while they cook? Now I'm taking the diced tomatoes with green chilies and throwing that in there as well. Juice and all. It smells really good, but they were actually pretty spicy. Now I'm taking 1 cup of rice and also tossing that into the pot. Literally everything all in the pot together. Now I am pouring the recommended amount of water minus 1/2 cup, because the juice from the tomatoes would serve about 1/2 cup of water's worth, and salting very heavily. Again, I undersalted. I'm underestimating the amount of salt things need. Now I'm just going to cook that for the amount of time recommended on the package for the rice. And while that's cooking, I have pulled out my chicken thighs. I deboned them. I pulled off the skin, and I'm just giving them a nice little rough chop. Here is the damage from the deboning and deskinning of the chicken. And here is my dinner for the week. I absolutely love this. This was delicious. It had about 36 grams of protein per serving, good fiber, good carbs, good fat, all the good things. I definitely felt full and happy with this meal. It did need more salt though, but it was delicious.
All right, guys, that is it for the 3 meals that I made for the week. Well, almost. As I mentioned before, those meatballs didn't quite make it the whole week, but I had a whole extra chicken thigh left over after cooking 6 of them, and I had a cup of rice left over as well. So that made up 4 lunches that the meatballs didn't cover. And the last 2 days were a little light on the eggs and the oatmeal, which was just fine, actually. 2 eggs and a full cup of oatmeal was like kind of a lot. So going a little light on that on the last 2 breakfasts was, overall, this experiment went really well. I was so happy with how full and satiated I felt. I really did feel like I was getting enough food. I did notice that I was kind of like missing fruit. I really, really wanted apples, mandarins, that kind of thing, and more fresh vegetables. Not even fresh veggies, just like more veggies in general. But if you are on a budget and you want to make sure that you're getting adequate protein, this worked. This worked great. Now, if you wanted to add some things to this, sour cream in the rice and beans is really good. Also, if you were to take those meatballs and pair that with the rice and beans, that would be delicious as well. I sure hope you enjoyed this video. I know I have been enjoying watching these kinds of videos, and hopefully there were some things in there that were really helpful to you. Again, I love these meatballs. They make an absolutely fantastic quick lunch. I do have a couple other recipes that are very protein dense that are also affordable. So if you like this kind of video from me and want to see more, feel free to let me know in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up. And I just want to mention, if you are someone who has food insecurity, you're struggling when it comes to food, please don't be afraid to ask for help. Go to your local community. There are resources available. Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. But hopefully this video gave you some ideas, some tips, some tricks. And as always, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.